Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome one, welcome all to Thursday night here on SimSpeed TV. It is Dirt Night and it is the Buffalo Motors Oceanic Dirt Sim Events Wheelman Challenge. A different car and track combo every week to test the mettle of the best drivers in the AusNZ Dirt Sim world, and a few outsiders as well. We're at round 3 here, and we've gone for the second change-up of the season. We are racing the midget cars at the magnificent Weedsport Speedway, the newest dirt oval to enter the iRacing service. Driven around this place a few times myself, and I gotta say, it is a ton of fun. My name's Reese Gardner, and joining me in the commentary box is Cameron Dance. Well, Cam, it's time to go racing in these lovely little cars, the midgets. They're effectively a tiny wingless sprint car powered by a 4-cylinder motorcycle engine. There's no wings. It's all about mechanical grip, and you can chuck these things into the corners.
Yeah, you certainly can. They're an absolute hoot of fun. And you ask any sort of driver who's raced on dirt, and they immediately come to these cars because they're just so much fun to drive. They're so nimble, so easy. It's just one of those cars where you almost fall back on if you don't have a sprint car or something you're more suited to in the end to drive, because it's almost as though it's two cars in one, in that it's got enough grip to move, but it also doesn't have enough grip to the point where you can still at least get sideways enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very technical car to drive, and it takes a lot of effort to wheel one of these around a track quickly. That's why midget cars are a very common stepping stone into other forms of oval racing in America, particularly IndyCar. A lot of IndyCar and NASCAR drivers worked their way up through dirt racing in midgets before they entered their current careers. And we've already got cars out on the circuit in the warm-up session. We've got 5-minute qualifying coming up, and then heats of 8 laps each, in which the top 4 transfer straight through to the feature. And I think we should take a bit of a look at the championship standings as well, because we're now in the third round of a 6-round season. And these are the standings after the first 2 rounds. Of course, Bradley Oldfield up on the top, 808 points after taking the feature win last round at Eldora in the NASCAR trucks. Nathan Clark behind him, but there looks like quite the battle for third on back. Cam, you see Caden Brown, Darcy Wilson, and Ethan Bastian all fighting for third. Jaden Russell and Harry Stewart equal on points.
Yeah, it's certainly very, very tight in terms of the point standings at the moment with the 2 rounds that we've had. So it's shaping up like it's going to be a pretty close fight in terms of the championship, especially as we get closer and closer to the end of this, with the fact that there's so many different cars and tracks that we're going to be going to. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in terms of this championship picture and who's going to end up coming out on top.
Yes, indeed. It looks like Oldfield is the one in the box seat as of now, but everything can change in the next 4 rounds of the season, including this one. So, be interesting to see what other drivers make an appearance in the top 10 in the standings towards the end. We know that drivers like Lewis Hewitt and Mitchell Broom are drivers that we expect to be up there, but many drivers have had some pretty rotten luck in this series so far. It takes a lot of effort to get your head around a different car and track combo every single week. Either way, we're going to move on to the qualifying very soon. Already seeing cars out on track here in the warm-up, and we get a very good view of what Weedsport is like. It's an interesting little circuit, Cam. Coming from a road racing background, I haven't seen much sense in the turn numbering system usually used for oval racing, at least here in America. Turns 1 and 2, the first left-hander. Turns 3 and 4, the second left-hander. Well, we don't have that problem here at Weedsport because every single turn here is distinct. The track's practically a square.
Yeah, it sort of is. It's, I guess, somewhat similar to Richmond in some respects, in the way that it's sort of a oval but also has an actual straight down the back. So it's really, really odd, albeit the front straight is the straight, but it's one of those tracks where it's not like any other track you've gone to. You've gone to Limeland, you've gone to Eldora, you've gone to all those sort of tracks where it's pretty straightforward of it's an oval or a circle. So you've got an idea of what to do. But on this sort of track where it's quite banked down the back straight, it's curved as well, it really mixes it up. And then you've obviously got a slightly different way of taking the corners as well, and that one is tighter than the other as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think particularly through turns 1 and 2, you know, every one of the 4 turns here has a distinct apex and a wall on the inside that you can use to measure that up. We look towards turn 1 in this shot, you can see just how tight it is. It's a bit of a descent, actually. There's some elevation change down the front straight that the drivers are going to have to deal with as they tip into turn 1. You've got to keep it tight, generally, coming out of turn 2 to get a good run down the back stretch. And then the last couple of turns, well, you start off really fast, but then it tightens right up at turn 4. So you have to really be careful coming onto the start-finish stretch. The checkered flag is going to be out, and the session getting moved on forward into the qualifying session. We're going to see Barney up there in the flag stand get the checkered flag out very soon, in about 3 seconds, I would imagine. And then we can finally move on to see how these drivers line up for the heats. There's the exit onto the circuit. Completely outside of the circuit is the pit section here at Weedsport. So we're going to be seeing the pace truck peel off to the right when we go to green flag racing. We're in the qualifying session now, just about. I was still waiting for the session to move forward, but fortunately, the drivers here, Cam, are not going to have to tour through the pits that much if they can help it. It's going to be a bit of a tight squeeze if you have to come into for repairs.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be a little bit of a tight squeeze. It's not a normal pit road like we'd normally see, where you've sort of got an entry and then an exit. It's one that's literally got the entry and exit in the exact same location, sort of like what you'd find at a typical dirt track anyway, where everybody sort of comes in and out of the same location. So it's certainly going to be one of those things where if you're needing to get to pit road, you're probably going to be in a bit of strife, but nevertheless, we'll see what happens.
We shall. There's Harry Stewart out on track for the first time in qualifying, and you see how much the midget car moves around when you get on the power. You have to be really smooth in this thing. You get the throttle a bit too hard, the car can actually do a wheelie and flip. So you have to be really careful around this circuit. Harry Stewart goes for the wide entry into the final corner. See how he goes through turns 1 and 2, brings it right back down to the inside, coming down the straight. And then you're sideways all the way through here, just trying to adjust your trajectory, keep it tight to the inside. First lap for Harry Stewart, 14.96. That puts him to the top for now. And the other drivers start filing in their times. Josh Barry and Bob King currently a 10th off. Asher Maneth 2/10 off Harry Stewart's time. So at least to start, it seems like Stewart is the man to beat. We've still got to wait and see what other drivers do in their second runs. Josh Barry getting to within half a tenth almost of Harry Stewart, but not going to work out for him. Don Schultz makes it 15th place. Currently, the slowest car to have set a time, Scott Griffiths on a 15.608. Now it's Darcy Wilson on a 15.685. We've got more times filing in. Got roughly a third of the field left to set their first times in this session. But from that opening salvo of laps, looks like it's going to be pretty close between Stewart, Barry, Davies, King, and, Darcy Wilson, just elevating himself to P5 there.
Certainly, it's getting shaken up this order, isn't it, as Joel Berkeley goes to P2, not far off what Harry Stewart is, but that's still a decent margin in terms of dirt racing, with the fact that he's still got just over half a tenth between them. So around the old field it goes, it matches the time that Joel Berkeley's done as well to put himself P3. But we'll see what Brenton Hobson can do here as he's coming down the back straight now, or back end of the circuit, and heading through turns number 3 and 4, seeing where he's going to put himself in the order. He comes across the line, and it's going to end up being a little bit down the order in 29th at the moment.
Yeah, 15.282 for Brenton on his first lap. Aston Hurley as well, putting in his first time, and that's looking all right there. Mitchell Broom ultimately not gaining much there. Down at the bottom, Darcy Wilson's been put back to 8th, Berkeley P2, Oldfield P3. Oldfield has now gone to P2, so that's another salvo there from the championship leader, and Brenton Hobson ultimately doesn't improve a huge amount on his time, remains in 28th position. Only driver to not have set a time for the moment is Tyler Bish, and he's only just loaded into the server, so we're going to be waiting to see where Tyler puts himself.
Certainly will be intrigued to see where Tyler puts himself. I'm actually quite surprised. There's actually a few drivers that you'd expect to be a little bit up the order as well, a little bit further down as well. The likes of Jacob Dixon, Lewis Hewitt, Cam Taylor, Max Lumsden, and a few others as well who really race these cars actually a little bit further down the order. Brenton Hobson as well. So it's actually quite, well, this track seems to have really shaken up this field quite a bit.
It has, of course. It's a new track. Every driver... Whoa, Jacob Dixon just hitting the wall on the inside out of turn 2. That's going to be a pitfall the drivers are going to have to deal with throughout the night. But this is a new track for iRacing, and none of the drivers being hugely experienced with it. They will obviously have put in an awful lot of practice in their preparation for this event, as Tyler Bish sets a 15.235 to start things off, 33rd. But they've still got a bit to get used to here at Weedsport. It is a quite an unconventional dirt oval as far as they go. Bish, unfortunately, does not improve on the time that he just set, so We're going to see how he goes on his next couple of laps. Each driver has 4 laps here at Weedsport with which to set a time. That was a 15.146 for Bish, puts himself up into the top 30. Good to see. That's going to be a mid to rear of field start in his heat. Let's see if he improves again. 15.134. That's a couple more positions for Tyler, up to 26th, and that's going to be the end of his run. So with 3, 2, and 1 second to go in qualifying, that is the end of it. The drivers are going to be sorted out into their heats. And we're going to move straight through into the first heat of the night. It's a 9-car grid for this one, headed up by Harry Stewart and Josh Barry. Bob King and Dylan DeBono line up behind them with Lewis Hewitt and Jaden Russell, who put on a great drive to get the podium at Eldora, starting from 6th. Aston Hurley and Brenton Hobson, row 4, and Braden Shute, the sole car on the 5th row here. Now, it's time to see how these cars race. Of course, with the tightness of turn 1, I would expect it to be a popular place to throw one up the inside and try the slide job, but of course, coming through turn 2, well, you really have to bring the car back down to the inside to be fast through that section. So you do the slide job, you're really opening yourself up to an attack.
You certainly are, and I guess the same could be said for the back straight on turn number 3 as well, where if you can get it up the inside at turn 1, you're actually probably going to have an advantage on the way into turn 3. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see the various different lines and what sort of tactics we might see from drivers and the way they get moves done. But nevertheless, it's probably going to be really, really intriguing and really exciting, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so too. One more lap then behind the pace truck before the green flag flies. Stewart with the advantage on pole, starting on the inside row. But that may change a bit towards the end of the night, seeing how drivers use the track around them. This is going to be just about the first time I've seen any kind of racing here at Weedsport, so I'm finding this out along with you. It's going to be a fun night for sure. So now they gear up for that start. They got to be careful putting the power down in these midgets because the front end can come off the ground if you get on the throttle too hard. In comes the pace truck, and Harry Stewart gets the jump as we go green. Great start for Harry. Fanning out into the first turn, number 2, Bob King trying up the inside of Josh Barry, coming into the last couple of turns, but Barry covers him off around the outside. Gets a good run, but there's King again on the inside into the first turn. They make contact, and Barry almost turned around. They slowed each other up, and that's brought both of them all the way to the back of the field. And I think Josh Barry's going to be a bit unhappy with that. That promotes Dylan DeBono into 2nd, Lewis Hewitt into P3, Aston Hurley and Brenton Hobson battling for 4th.
Certainly dropped Josh Barry well down the orders, right at the tail of this field, and passing seems like it's a bit of a challenge as well, so it's going to be a little bit of a tough job for him to get back through the field, but we'll have to wait and see what he can do. But Lewis Hewitt's still applying the pressure to Dylan DeBono at the moment. Meanwhile, Harry Stewart's just absolutely checked out.
Yeah, he's looking pretty comfortable as Harry in the midget as Hobson and Mr. Hurley continue to battle. It's a bit of a trading places between these guys, and already on the 5th lap of 8, so this is going to be over pretty soon. Brenton Hobson tries making his way out as we'll have a look at Lewis Hewitt trying his best here versus Dylan DeBono. Trying every corner up the inside, but I don't know if it's going to work out for him. He's going to have to go for one heck of a slide job at the end of it. We've got a car over. Josh Barry has hit the inside wall and is now out of this heat on the penultimate lap. The battle for 4th has worked out a bit in Aston Hurley's favour because Braden Shute really pressuring Brenton Hobson now, and it looks like Hobbo moving back to P6 as we are now on the final lap. Hewitt hitting the wall coming into turn 1. He's managed to secure 3rd place there from Dylan DeBono as Harry Stewart comes across the line. It's DeBono in 2nd and Hewitt defended from Aston Hurley. My apologies, to take 3rd. But Aston Hurley is going to join them both in the feature. And the likes of Hobbo and Shute, King, Barry and Russell Those guys going to have to work their way through the constellations. It looks like Jaden Russell didn't even take the start, so that's going to be a tough start to the night for him. But we move straight on forward into Heat 2. And this one's going to be headed up by Caden Brown and Clayton Davies, with Wilson and Della behind them on the second row. Nathan Norman and Bradley Minshall on row 3. Tyler Bish and Nathan Clark, 7th and 8th. And Scott Griffiths coming up the rear in position number 9. So, with a moment to catch our breath now, Cam, after that first heat, seems that the outside is quite defendable around here.
Apparently, it seems to be the case at the moment, at least, while the track is nice and fresh. So we'll have to see what happens as it starts to slick off and get a little bit more rough and greasy up there. But it certainly probably seems to be helping them with the fact that they're able to carry a lot more momentum on the way into turn number 3.
Yeah, you could see the drivers almost backing it into the corner. They were so sideways, and doing that late aggressive turn in when there's a car behind you can help to cover off your rivals. So, Caden Brown currently sits 3rd in the championship and looking to improve. Other drivers, the likes of Clayton Davies, he's a driver that for which success has avoided him a bit in this series so far. Davies currently sits in P12 in the Drivers' Championship after a couple of substandard starts to the season. Meanwhile, Darcy Wilson's looking for redemption for the pace he showed at Eldora but was unable to capitalize on. Well, it's a different car and a different track now. Let's see how he does. Pace truck preparing to move on into the pits, and Caden Brown, we'll see if he gets as good of a jump as Harry Stewart did in Heat 1. It looks like he has managed to cover off Clayton Davies as we go green and gets the gap into turn 1. They fan out. It looks pretty aggressive throughout the field here. Bradley Minshall and Nathan Norman side by side coming into turn 3. All the way up on the outside is Kane Della. He wants to try and get a run here on the 17 of Bradley Minshall. Covers him off again into turn 1, but we'll see what Minshall does into turn 3. Kane Della is going to try his best to advance forward here because Darcy Wilson is looking pretty good here. Clayton Davies, meanwhile, comes back at Caden Brown and looks to grab the lead back. This is a very tight field here at the front.
Certainly is, and one mistake is just going to cause them all to bunch up and put everybody in with a possible shot of the lead. And you can just see Caden Brown running that outside line nicely, and it's just giving him enough momentum to stay ahead of Clayton Davies. But Darcy Wilson into the back of Clayton Davies there, managing to just barely hold on to it. But here comes the slide job from Bradley Minshall on the way into turn number 3 on Caden Della, and he's managed to get it done, but he's going to have his hands full at the moment with Darcy Wilson, who seems to be still applying the pressure to cook the back of Clayton Davies.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that pressure's gotten to Davies a bit because Caden Brown has skipped away in the field. So now it's to second on back. Whoa, that was Kane Della hitting the inside wall at turn 4. That was a big smash for him, and he is unfortunately out. So we'll see you in a bit in the constellations, Kane. Commiserations. So Caden Brown still holding on to that lead over Clayton Davies. The field is spread out a bit now. And for 4th on back, it looks like that's where the battle is. Bradley Minshall is defending from Nathan Norman, and I notice Nathan Clark behind them is firing it as hard as he can into just about every single turn. It is the final lap now for our leaders, and it looks like Caden Brown is going to hold on for a victory here in the second heat of the night. Clayton Davies had a red-hot go at him in the early stages, but unfortunately couldn't get it done. Checkered flag, that's Caden Brown with the win. And Davies in second with Darcy Wilson in 3rd. Bradley Minshall finishes 4th. And unfortunately for Nathan Norman, Tyler Bish, Scott Griffiths, Nathan Clark, and Kane Della, that's going to be a run through the constellations for the lot of them.
Looked like that track actually sort of started to slick up a bit more and more as they got through the heat, and as a result it sort of spread everyone out, which was a little bit unfortunate. So we'll see what happens in this next heat.
We shall, and it's the championship leader who leads them away. Bradley Oldfield starting alongside Clayton Tilley. Brad O'Brien and Ashton Manif on row 2 with Sadler and Lumsden behind them. 8-car field for this one. It's Mitchell Broom and Luke Payton who rounded out on the 4th row. Pace truck already pulling away, and in 2 slow laps time, we're going to see 8 more fast ones.
Certainly, I'm really looking forward to it. You can see the track's actually starting to take a little bit of wear onto it, so we'll have to see how it looks later on in the feature, but I'd say it's probably not looking too bad at this stage. It's a little bit patchy, but nevertheless, it's still going to provide a pretty racy track.
Absolutely is. There's a real groove forming up at the top as well. You can see the amount of clay that's been cast up there. The light-coloured clay is where the drivers actually put their cars. All of that dark, lumpy-looking clay is everything that's thrown up by the tyres of these dirt midgets, and it's just on the boundary between the light and dark clay where the groove is. That is where the most grip is, and if you can exploit it, then you will be fast. But it is looking like Weedsport is a very racy track in these cars. It's going to be a tough job to defend from anyone around here. Coming up to the green flag then, Bradley Oldfield in the number 19 on the inside, and looking to get the jump here, and he does on the 51 of Clayton Tilley. We are green, and up on his rear wheels was Brad O'Brien across the line, but he's gathered it up coming into turn 1. The field fans out. Oldfield getting away from them very nicely on the first lap, but overshooting it a little bit into turn 3. He gets it back on the exit of turn 4. They almost go 3 wide in the back. It's side by side between Mitchell Broom and Ashton Manif here in the final few spots in the field.
Lumsden's in there as well, and they're all nose to tail, just those last 4 positions, so it's very, very close, and Broom's going to want to try and find a way on by Lumsden as well. It's just ahead of them. Brad O'Brien made a mistake, put himself in at the wall, but this battle's still really nice and heated at the moment between Manif and Broom.
Yeah, it is, and Gavin Sadler coming up to the back of Brad O'Brien there. That battle's going to continue a bit longer, but for Max Lumsden, looks like he's working it out nicely, going to the inside down the back stretch out of turn 2 and keeping it nice and easy versus Mitchell Broom, Ashton Manif and Luke Payton there at the back of the grid. So it looks like the top 4 and the bottom 4 have more or less separated. Gavin Sadler currently sits in 4th position, and Max Lumsden has an awful lot of work to do if he wants to get up into that transfer spot.
Certainly does. He's got quite a bit of a gap to try and close down on Gavin Sadler ahead of him, and probably starting to run out of time to try and do that. He's going to need a miracle at this point, or one of them to come together as well, just ahead of him to try and get that position. But certainly Gavin Sadler is applying the pressure to the back of Brad O'Brien, who seems to be possibly struggling a little bit, and it's a odd line that they're all taking as well on the way into turn 1. Odd for what you normally see, at least, where they're running in a little bit deep, going right up to the fence and then squaring the corner off.
Yeah, trying to get the momentum with a straight line throttle application down the back stretch. We're on the final lap now, and O'Brien and Sadler closer than they've ever been. Oldfield, meanwhile, going through the final couple of turns, and he is going to take the win in this final heat with Clayton Tilley, Brad O'Brien completing the podium. Sadler gave it a red-hot go, but ultimately wasn't able to get it done. He, though, is going to transfer through into the feature. Lumsden, Broom, Manif and Payton raced well, raced very cleanly, but they're going to have to make their way through the consolations as per usual. It is time then to move forward a bit further. I'm sorry, I tell a lie. That was not the final heat of the night. We've still got one more to go. Joel Berkeley and Lewis Clark are going to start from the front row on this one, with Ethan Bastian 6th place in the championship and Jacob Dixon on the second row, with Vickers, Taylor, Beattie and Schultz rounding out the rest of the field here. This is the first time we've really seen Joel Berkeley have a go in this series. Obviously, he's got various commitments that keep him from his time on the sim, but he loves to get on when he can, and doing very well in the qualifying stages, and doing just enough there to put himself on pole position for his heat. Good to see.
Certainly good to see Joel out there and racing, and what is actually not a Slick Sim Sport livery. It's the old classic Tinder car that him and I believe Chuck Goodyear do tend to run when they race a bit of midgets. So we'll see what the man himself can do, and whether he can take this one away.
Yeah, we'll see if he swipes left or right on a result in this race. But Lewis Clark starting from second. He's going to have a tough job because Ethan Bastian, Jacob Dixon, Hayden Vickers all behind him. Can't count out Cam Taylor either. He loves to get his nose up there. Beattie and Schultz off the back row, going to have a tough time off the start, but we'll see if they can work their way forward. So now it all falls to Joel Berkeley as the pace truck pulls in. He decides to go a little bit later than we've seen. Oh, that was a car hitting the inside wall. That was Hayden Vickers getting a very poor start instantly to the back of the grid. He's got a ton of work to do now. Joel Berkeley leads. Into second goes Lewis Clark again, fighting against the number 12 of Ethan Bastian, who was right on his bumper coming into turn one. Using all of the track and then some, bring it back down. We'll see what Ethan Bastian can do around the outside here. A bit more momentum. No, he's going to go for the over-under here. Lewis Clark losing momentum and almost going 3 wide there, because have a look at Jacob Dixon. He's on the attack now. He moves past Bastian, and he's looking good for a move here on Lewis Clark.
Very good. Deciding to go to the top side of the racetrack as well on the way through turns 3 and 4 to try something different, and it seems to work for him as well, as he got a very nice run on the way down the front straight. He's all over the back of Lewis Clark as well, who's still continuing to run that bottom side of the racetrack, but Dixon continuing to try and persist with that top side. It doesn't seem to be quite working, but he seems to be making it work just enough.
Yeah, only Justin. Oh, well, that's going to end it for Ethan Bastian there. Oh, and the number 3 of Jacob Dixon. Both of them getting into the wall, and ultimately Lockie Beattie coming in with basically nowhere to go. Shoots off Ethan Bastian into the wall. And oh my goodness, Clayton Davies up the inside again here, with his teammate Lockie Beattie just up ahead of them there in the 4th and final transfer spot. It's going to be a battle between the teammates and John Schultz as well. Have a look at the number 78. Super pressure on Jacob Dixon.
Definitely applying a lot of pressure at the moment as John Schultz just trying everything he can to try and get enough of a run to get on by, but just can't quite seem to do it at the moment, so it's going to have to sit station behind them just for the time being. White flag is in the air, so it's going to be one more to go for Jacob Dixon. Try and get a move done. Contact between him and Lockie Beattie goes around.
There we go. Lockie Beattie to the back of the field, and it looks like that is going to promote someone into 4th. Across the line goes Joel Berkeley, Lewis Clark in 2nd. Cam Taylor promoted to 3rd with Jacob Dixon in the final transfer spot there. Wow, what a race. That was incredible there. Joel Berkeley comes home with the win. Lewis Clark and Cam Taylor complete the podium. Dixon in 4th, with Schultz, Vickers, Beattie and Bastian rounding out the field. Ethan Bastian would have been hoping for a 4th place or better finish in that one. It's what you'd expect. But ultimately, he has to make an appearance in the double B main that we have tonight, the first of which is coming up right now. And it's Brenton Hobson and Max Lumsden on the front row of that one, with Braden Shute and Mitchell Broom in 3rd and 4th. Bob King and Ashton Manee 5th and 6th, with Josh Barry, Luke Payton and Jaden Russell rounding out the field. We'll see. It looks to me like Jaden Russell has made it to the grid here in the number 27, so we will see him grab a result here tonight. We'll see if he can get into the top 4, because, once again, it is the top 4 who advance through to the feature. Anyone who finishes outside of those top 4 spots in this race is going home.
Definitely is, and it's going to be a lot of hard work for them as well as a result of trying to get into those top 4 positions. So we'll see who ends up making it, who ends up having to call it a night early.
Yes, indeed. But Brenton Hobson is going to be the one in the box seat here, starting on pole. Of course, he's got Max Lumsden alongside him, which is going to be a pretty tough matchup, if you ask me. Got to wait for Bob King as well in the number 2. He showed some great pace before the incident in his heat put him out of contention, so I'd expect King to be fighting very hard for the 4th place. Couple more corners to go then. Lights out on the pace truck. Coming on in at the end of this one. And we'll go racing for 12 laps here in what is ostensibly the C main, but for the series purposes, the first of the B mains. And we are green Brenton Hobson gets a great jump, and have a look at Braden Shoot getting up the inside of Max Lumsden. There's a crash up at the back. We've had cars come together. Looks like Josh Barry recovered, but Mitchell Broom with a half spin all the way at the back, and with quite the gap to make up.
Yeah, Josh Barry got very, very loose on the way into turn 1, possible contact as well. But Mitchell Broom, unfortunately, dropping to the back after getting very, very sideways and ending up having to try and recover the car. But at the front of the field, it's all on for those top 4 positions as Brenton Hobson is starting to come under pressure from the likes of Braden Shoot and Max Lumsden at the moment.
Yes, indeed. And Lumsden and Shoot running side by side through every corner for the time being. And Bob King is right there in 4th, looking to capitalise, but they're going to have to be careful. This is bringing Jaden Russell into it. Jaden has moved up into P5 and really starting to jet up to the back of this top 4 pack you see here all together on track. Shoot and Lumsden side by side once again through the turns, but there goes Shoot, attempted slide job into turn 3, but Brenton Hobson carrying the momentum, but onto the front stretch. Braden Shoot has the inside line for 1. Can he capitalise? Hobson got up into the wall, had to recover slightly, but he maintains the momentum. That lead is in big trouble, though. Braden Shoot is really looking to capitalise on this, and have a look at the number 55 of Max Lumsden too. Bob King firing it in, and you just see in the edge of the picture, that is Jaden Russell as well, getting in on this. Shoot up the inside once again of Hobson. Can he hold on to it here? Oh, it looks like he just might be able to get him across the line and move ahead into turn 1. It looks like Hobbo, moving up the circuit, has just given the position to Braden Shoot. Let's see if he tries another one to get back past.
To wait and see, but Bob King is coming very, very fast as well on the top side of the racetrack just behind. He's moved into 3rd now, just ahead of Max Lumsden. Lumsden trying the bottom side of the racetrack, but not going to get the drive off the corner out of turn number 1 and 2, but he's going to head down the back straight as Bob King is all over the tail tank of Brenton Hobson. Looks to the outside, no gap going to be there. Looks to the inside, no gap going to be there either. Not going to be close enough. Lumsden looks to the inside again. They're going to be 3 wide on the way into turn number 1, but not quite going to be there. And Bob King's actually going to lose out. Now Lumsden's going to give him a run for his money on the way into turn number 3. He's going to be on the inside, but King trying that outside again.
Yeah, he seems pretty comfortable there on that outside line, does Bob, and firing it into turn 1 again. It looks like he'll square off the exit of the corner and get a slight run on Brenton Hobson here, but looks like it's not worked out for him on this particular lap. You see him just move ahead of Hobson there on the outside, and oh my goodness, he's actually got him. He's actually got him. Bob King up into 2nd place. That was an incredible move.
Certainly was an absolute textbook move as well, but the battle is on for the final transfer spot now with the fact that Brenton Hobson's actually started to drop back into the clutches of Max Lumsden, who's going to throw it up the inside on the way into turn number 1. Half a slide job, but not quite able to get in front of him enough. Jane Russell is right there or thereabouts, so if one mistake happens here in this final corner, he's going to be able to take advantage of it, but it looks like it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and Braden Shoot is the one who's going to take victory here with Bob King in 2nd. Hobbo holds on for 3rd, and it is going to be Max Lumsden who beats Jaden Russell by just 0.2 of a second to secure that 4th place. So Jaden, Ashton, Luke, Mitchell, and Josh, it was nice knowing you guys for tonight, but we're going to have to see you again next week. Big shame for those drivers, but that be dirt racing. Moving on then into the 2nd B main of the night. Top 4 from this one transfer through to the feature as well. Norman and Schultz on the front row with Bish and Vickers behind them. Griffiths, Beattie, Clark, Bastion and Della are the rest of your field here. Another 9-car field. And if the racing in that first B main was anything to go by, we're going to see a titanic battle for these top 4 spots, because I can see that all of these drivers deserve a top 4 here.
They certainly all do, and it's anybody's guess as to who's going to end up coming away with the top 4 as well, with the fact that it's a pretty stacked B main, this one. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes away with it. Again, anyone's guess as to who's going to come away with it, but it's certainly going to be one to watch.
Certainly is. By this point in the night, with the bigger, heavier, more powerful cars, we usually see the track really slicking up by this point. But these midgets, aside from the front straight, you're not seeing much of a slick groove forming around this circuit, which I guess, is shown in the way that we've seen these fantastic moves that drivers have been able to pull. There's still a lot of grip available in this racetrack for the drivers to take advantage of. Either way, coming up to the last couple corners of the final formation lap, pace truck's going to peel off to driver's right, and Nathan Norman is going to put the power down intermittently. There we go, and we are green for the second B main, and there's already a half spin at the back. It looked like a bit of contact for Kane Della. He was unfortunately really pushed back on the start-finish straight, but Norman into the lead, and it's looking like for third place it's quite the battle, because Hayden Vickers, Scott Griffiths, and John Schultz all together on the same bit of racetrack here, with Nathan Clark trying to advance forward too.
Clark unfortunately getting a bit shafted on lap 1 at turn 1 as well. There's a little bit of contact going on between those top 5 and 6, and ended up being a bit of a shuffle in the order, but nevertheless we're going to be on our way, and it'll be interesting to see if Vickers actually cops a penalty as a result for causing all that carnage that happened on lap 1 at turn 1, but nevertheless it's going to be interesting to see what he can do and whether he's going to be able to have enough pace to close up on Tyler Bish. He seems to be ever so slightly get slower that last time by, but certainly going to be doing everything he needs to at this stage, because for the transfer spot, Scott Griffiths is coming under a lot of pressure from John Schultz at the moment.
Yeah, well, Schultz has just completed the move around the outside, much like what Bob King did to Brenton Hobson in the last race. That's a great move for John Schultz, move himself up into P4. Seems like the outside line really coming into its own at this later stage of the night, because, you know, you go down to the inside, obviously it's a bit of a tighter line, so not able to carry as much speed in these wingless machines. Scott Griffiths now falling out of 4th place, facing up against Ethan Bastian, and he was facing up against Kane Della, but Della has found the wall once again, and it looks like he's out of this one. So last time we'll see Kane Della here tonight. Commiserations, mate. Nathan Norman, though, up the front, is starting to come under pressure from Tyler Bish. Gap under half a second now as they cross the line to start the 8th lap of 12. Goodness me, this is flying by very fast, and looks like there was another change there for 3rd and 4th place. It looks like John Schultz is super pressuring Hayden Vickers at the moment. Vickers just got him back. We got a spinner. Meanwhile, Nathan Clark has found the wall somehow, and has unfortunately had to get going down on the bottom of the circuit. But seems like John Schultz gapping what is now Ethan Bastian for 4th place. Nathan Norman still holding on to this lead and doing everything he needs to right now.
Needs to be nice, clean and consistent, and bring it on home with about 2 laps to go now, so he shouldn't have too many issues with the fact that he's got some pace as well over the 2nd place driver of Tyler Bish. But we'll see what happens with this final transfer spot, because John Schultz has actually got Ethan Bastian all over the back of him now with 2 laps to go, and he's really applying the pressure as Bastian.
That he is. Very close to Schultz now. We look back from Schultz to see Ethan Bastian going sideways through the last couple of turns, and that is the white flag for these guys. Up the inside goes Bastian, and that was some big contact there. I think Bastian found the inside wall. He might lose a position to Lockie Beattie at the final corner, but for Mr. Nathan Norman, it is victory. For Bish, it is 2nd. For Vickers, it is 3rd, and John Schultz just holding off Ethan Bastian for 4th place there. So a big shame there for 6th place in the championship. He will unfortunately not take part in the feature. Neither will Beattie, Griffiths, Clark, and Della. But Nathan Norman, Tyler Bish, Hayden Vickers, and John Schultz are going to join us in the feature, which is coming up very, very soon. All right, now we get a moment to catch our breath. There's a warm-up session. The drivers are going to go for a bit of an expression session in the following 2 minutes. But we're going to take a bit of an opportunity to have a bit of a drink here at SimSpeed TV, because you're going to have to be hydrated for what we've got coming up next.
The field is rolling on the back straightaway.
Get ready. This is going to be tight. Out of turn 4, ladies and gentlemen. The All-American 400 is underway.
careful. The bumps here can get you every time. Entering the corner, exiting the corner.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
You're watching the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events Wheelman Challenge presented by Buffalo Motors and broadcast live on SimSpeed TV here on YouTube and on Facebook as well. Make sure that you give us a like, give us a follow on the requisite platforms because we've got more racing like this coming up over the coming weeks. Of course, not with this specific car track combo because, of course, the Wheelman Challenge, different car track combo every single week. It is feature time. We're ready to go here up in the commentary box. Hope the drivers are ready to go too. Once again, I'm Reese Gardner and Cameron Dance is alongside me in the commentary box. Cam, we've had some fantastic racing so far, but now we've got the grid for the A main. Stewart and Brown on the front row of this one with Oldfield and Berkeley behind them. Dylan DeBono, Clayton Davies. What a top six we've got there, along with Clayton Tilley there in 7th, Lewis Clark, Lewis Hewitt in 8th and 9th, and Darcy Wilson rounds out the top 10 for this one.
You go over the page and you're going to have Brad O'Brien followed by Cam Taylor, Aston Hurley, Bradley Mitchell, and Gavin Sallin, then Jacob Dixon, and then you're going to have Brandon Shute, Nathan Norman, Bob King, and Tyler Bush rounding out the top 20 before you go back to Brenton Hobson, Hayden Vickers, Max Lumsden, and John Schultz rounding out the 24-car field.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight squeeze here at Weedsport Speedway. Those are the track conditions, 27-degree track temperature, and we're running during the day, so there's a lot of UV hitting that racetrack and heating it up, but nice cool air temperature, so the engines aren't going to be complaining that much. Not much wind either, so the drivers are going to be nice and stable through the corners here in these dirt midgets. Really been looking forward to this one, and I was very curious about how the racing would evolve here at Weedsport. I have to say, it has met all of my expectations, if not exceeded them. It's been some fantastic driving from the entire field we've seen tonight, and 35 green flag laps ready to go here. The pace car going to come in, and it's Harry Stewart in the number 11 who leads them away. We are green at Weedsport for the feature, round 3 of the Wheelman Challenge, and Stewart leads again into turn 1. Bradley Oldfield tried to get him, but Caden Brown with a better exit takes second place out of turn 1. And that's a huge crash. The caution out on lap 1. It looks to me like the cars involved, Clayton Tilley and Clayton Davies. They got together up at the top of the circuit, instantly bringing the caution flag out.
It just looks like Clayton Tilley just unfortunately came up in towards Clayton Davies down the back straight and sort of made wheel-to-wheel contact, and then from there Davies with the unfortunate moment of hitting the concrete wall on the back straight and going for a bit of a tumble.
Yeah, just a bit. That's a replay of the start from them. And Clayton Tilley, well, he tried making the exit, but then banged wheels with Davies, and then they just came together, both of them coming into the wall, and Davies going for one heck of a tumble there up at the top. Fortunately, it looks like Davies still in the race, so that is a tough little midget car that has survived that ordeal. Cam Taylor moving forward in the field, I think was put out of position after the caution came out, having to take some avoiding action. Of course, the caution laps are not counted here, so it's going to be a restart of lap 1 once the pace truck comes on in. The drivers will be hoping that there's not too many more of these cautions so that we can have a nice quick end to the night.
It was a little bit more of an endurance race last time we went racing at Eldora in the trucks, but hopefully it can be a little bit more quicker in a sort of normal length race, I guess, for dirt. But nevertheless, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
We shall. So restart's going to be double file here. If there's back-to-back cautions, or if there's a caution in the final 10 laps, then the restarts are changed to single file, as per the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events rulebook. So, it's going to be another tight squeeze for all the drivers coming out of this fourth turn, and Stewart, well, he's familiar with this position, doesn't have to do anything different from the first green flag. Away they go, but it looks like Oldfield and Brown are a bit more wise to him this time. They stick with him into turn 1, that's the top 3. Dylan DeBono slides up the circuit, clobbers the wall, and that's going to allow Brad O'Brien to get through for 4th place. That top 3 is massive though. Oh, we got more cars into the wall, and the caution is back out once again. That's a massive pile-up that's happened down at the bottom of the circuit in turn 4. Who is on their roof there? That is Clayton Tilley and Bob King, among others. Looks like Dylan DeBono was affected by that as well. So it looks like Clayton Tilley out of this one, and that certainly deserves a replay thanks to our friends at Modem Simulation. So how on earth did that start? Well, it was coming into the first couple of turns. Looks like Berkeley just fired it into the 3rd turn, cleaned up DeBono, who then cleaned up everyone else.
It looks like a few incidents after that, with more or less everybody nowhere to go, really, with the fact that there was a car tumbling down the track and everybody trying to take evasive action. I mean, you had DeBono, you had Davies, King, Wilson, Bish, even Max Lumsden involved. So it was a real right mess, all involved in that final corner scrap.
And race control has not hesitated. Joel Berkeley has been given an end-of-line penalty for that one. Of course, that's also in the rulebook. The driver who is deemed to cause a caution gets an end-of-line penalty if they've not crashed out themselves. And it was pretty clear-cut there. It was the move from Joel Berkeley that smacked Dylan DeBono into the wall and caused all of that chaos. So, now, at least we have the first lap complete. Harry Stewart's doing something that you don't usually do on dirt, which is weave. I don't think that's doing much of anything.
It doesn't really seem to do much, and it would also almost be a little bit of a hazard to yourself, because in these little midgets, the left rear is not too big, so if you get a little bit too much weight on it, you actually risk rolling the thing.
Yeah, that's true. Got to be quite careful in these midget cars. They're very light. They rely on mechanical grip. They got nothing sticking them to the ground. So lights off on the pace truck. It comes on in, and Harry Stewart does not hesitate and putting the power down. Away they go once again, and the second on back, it is truly on, because look at Brad O'Brien trying up the inside of Caden Brown down the stretch. Lewis Hewitt losing out a bit on the slick. Caden Brown right up into the wall, and he is putting his faith in that outside line. Hasn't worked out for him though, because Brad O'Brien slips on ahead into 3rd place. Bradley Oldfield going for the lead and takes it. A new leader is Bradley Oldfield. Harry Stewart back to 2nd place. So Oldfield on that second restart, once you get into a rhythm, it seems Oldfield's one of those drivers very difficult to go up against. Brown and O'Brien still battling here for 3rd place. O'Brien fires it in, Have a look at Gavin Sadler here in P5. He has got the entire pack behind him.
He certainly does, and there's a huge train of cars all wanting to try and get on by, and you've even got the likes of Hewitt in there, and Hewitt gets on by Sadler. Going to check up a little bit on the way through turns number 1 and 2, and he's going to drop down the order as a result, right in behind the likes of Wilson, but we've got a caution.
Oh, we have too, and not sure what that one was for. Might have been Nathan Norman stopped on the track. We'll wait and see what happened to him there, see if that was contact. It looks like Clayton Davies has been given an end-of-line penalty, so evidently he had something to do with this. Let's see what happened. Norman comes on into the first turn and up. There we go. Looks like that. I think that was Clayton Davies there who lost momentum between turns 3 and 4. You get a bit too sideways in this car, Cam, and it just grips up and slows up. He actually got a bit of help there hitting the wall. So not entirely Clayton Davies' fault, but that's one of the things you got to deal with here.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it's also one of those things around this in this car where if you get a little bit too sideways, there's almost no recovering it due to the way that the weight transfer is, and also the fact that your right rear is quite a lot bigger than the left rear. So it's a little bit difficult to save these things once you get beyond a certain angle, but nevertheless, it's one of those things about this car that you've just got to get used to.
That's it. And now it's reset time once again for all of our drivers. There's Lewis Hewitt down there on the bottom of the circuit going for a bit of a wibble wobble, it seems. He's going to be in a good position here coming off the start again, is Hewitt. Bradley Oldfield, though, is now going to be with the one with the advantage off the start. You see the track is slicking up massively now with so many cars on track at the same time, and it's just going to get worse for them as the night goes on, as those laps keep on ticking away. Let's see what Bradley Oldfield does here. In the start zone, goes just before the wall at turn 3. He gets an all-right jump there over Harry Stewart, but the field has pretty much stayed with Oldfield here, and Stewart working the outside to try and get some kind of advantage over Oldfield. It's not going to work, though, because Caden Brown all the way down to the inside. He's lost a bit of momentum in turn 4, though. That lets Stewart back on by.
Yeah, it seems to be a little bit of a half and half between everybody running the bottom and everybody running the top, but you can see the race leader Bradley Oldfield defending down on the bottom side of the racetrack, trying to use that small strip of grip that seems to be down there, and it seems to be working for him quite nicely. Meanwhile, Harry Stewart trying to run that top side of the racetrack, not quite able to get the runs that he needs at the moment. He's going to be side by side with Caden Brown on the way through turn number 3 and 4, and he's going to try around the outside. And we've got a caution. Lewis Hewitt is involved.
Oh, he is. Bradley Minchell has also retired from the race. He clobbered the wall between 3 and 4, but Minchell exited the track before the caution could be thrown. Let's see what happened to Lewis Hewitt then. Currently down in 19th place. Tried firing up the inside of turn 1. What's going on down here at 3 and 4? Hewitt down on the inside, and just tagging the wall with his front end, and that created a big fat concertina.
Yeah, just barely clipped the inside wall enough to send him round, and ended up getting pushed around by everybody that came on through. So managed to barely be lucky enough to get away with that one, I think, but certainly not going to be the way that he was hoping this race would go.
Yeah, and because he was the cause of the caution, he too has been given an end-of-line penalty as Lewis Hewitt. So both Hewitt and Berkeley going to have to work their way up here in the midst of this event. In terms of position, looks like Joel Berkeley has advanced forward into 10th place after his end of line, so he's making a good recovery. We'll see if Lewis Hewitt can do the same over the next 5 green flag laps that we have, however they may come. So coming up to the start once more, Oldfield hanging back from the pace truck, trying to get an earlier jump, and goes for the V shape in the middle of the corner, straight lines the exit, and doing very well to keep that lead coming into turn 1 again as we're racing once more. Have a look at the run there from Brad O'Brien. That was a huge lunge up the middle. Great run off the second turn, but he is stuck between Harry Stewart and Caden Brown and has to pull back and start the fight another day. We got a car spinning in the back of the field. We got 2 cars in the wall, Darcy Wilson and Lewis Clark. Actually 3 cars as well. Goodness me, Tyler Bish was involved in that one too. So that was a complete coming together in the first turn, and we'll see what happened there.
It's like they sort of just came together down the front straight. Tyler Bish actually had nowhere to go. He had the car of Lewis Clark coming out in front of him and just pretty much nowhere to go. Darcy Wilson actually, and just pretty much nowhere to go. And then Max Lumsden was even involved as well as a result of the big checkups. So seems Bish and Lumsden managed to get away with that one not too badly, but unfortunately Wilson and Clark not going to be in a situation they need to be in, which is in pit lane.
Yeah, so Clark got into the back of Gavin Sadler. That's how he spun. And Darcy Wilson had a bit of side-by-side contact from Cam Taylor. That's what happened to him, and Max Lumsden obviously not having a great time either up there. So we've completed 10 of 35 laps in this feature, and we're already on, what is this, the 3rd caution? More than that?
Yeah, it's 4th or 5th.
Yeah. Okay, might be the 5th caution. Okay, so we just heard from our director that if it keeps going on like this, we're going to exceed the maximum 100 laps set in the session, as opposed to just completing it before it all runs out. Of course, here in ODSE, Race Direction runs a manual lap tracker software, so you set the amount of laps in the server to something like 100 laps, and then use the software to not count caution laps, and you gain the amount of laps that way. Bradley Oldfield starts again. Caden Brown is right with him as they go green once more. That's Brad O'Brien up into the wall, and and where we got another car spun at the exit of turn 1. Just off the circuit though is Cam Taylor. We'll see if he can get back going again, because there is the front of the field with Oldfield down on the inside, Brown working the outside of the circuit. Taylor's managed to get going again. We stay green. But have a look at the fighting back in the pack. Brad O'Brien has really fallen back here. He's gotten a few taps, and now he's having to work the outside here. Down on the bottom, he's got Clayton Davies, he's got Nathan Norman and Lewis Hewitt fighting with him.
You're just hanging on and outside that top 10, trying to get back inside the top 10 is Brad O'Brien, and he's just barely going to manage to do that and get on by. There's a big tumble down in the back.
Oh my goodness, that was Jacob Dixon, and it's still green.
Or not.
Oh no, it isn't. Nope. So Dixon escaped, but hello, that's why the caution came out. Lewis Hewitt has had another incident somewhere that we missed, so he was fighting with O'Brien, and apparently it happened at turn 1. Let's see what happened to Hewitt here. There we go. Bit of a check up there from the cars up ahead, and Hewitt already sideways, already careening into the corner. Didn't really have many places he could have gone.
Yeah, certainly. Then you can see there the car he just checked, actually hit by Brad O'Brien, and as a result checked up Lewis Hewitt and everybody behind.
Yeah, okay. So now getting news that Brad O'Brien has been given an end-of-line penalty for that one. Of course, he tapped the car ahead, and that slowed them up, and Lewis Hewitt didn't have anywhere to go. So Brad O'Brien will make his way to the rear of the field for this restart. Tell you what, there's quite a few end-of-lines been given out here tonight. More than I've seen in just about any other ODSE event. So we were kind of hoping that the feature would be largely clean and we'd be able to get the laps done nice and quick, but it seems like with the amount of cars on track, with how much the track is slicking up too, drivers are finding it more and more difficult to stay out of each other's hair.
Yeah, it seems to be the case at the moment, and probably quite well, kind of not really surprising because of the fact that there is a lack of grip in some places. So you end up having everybody running in more or less the same sort of line, but we have to wait and see what happens as the pace truck is in, and we're back to green flag racing, and not too bad of a jump from your race leader Bradley Oldfield, but Joel Becker managed to get a nice start as well.
Yeah, Berkeley managing to make his way up into second before the caution. Oh, Oldfield just tapping the inside wall. Looks like he might be in a little bit of trouble here. Berkeley fires it in, makes a bit of rear contact, but Oldfield continues. Now, Berkeley up ahead of Harry Stewart, who's having to defend from Caden Brown.
Oh no, Berkeley, a little wall.
Oh, goodness me. That was close. Caden Brown getting a bit of contact as well and having to move back a couple of positions. So Oldfield is safe from Berkeley's advances for now. Berkeley stuck on the outside with Aston Hurley trying to fire it in. There goes Caden Brown making contact with Brenton Hobson. And this is a huge battle in the back of the pack. Hobson has got Norman, Sadler and Lumsden for company, with Darcy Wilson heading it up at 2.
And there's 3 wide to 3 and 4, and 3 wide down the front straight as well. Going to be 3 wide on the way into turn number 1 as well. Nearly 4 wide even just between them as well. So it's really hot and heated just outside the top 10 at the moment. Lumsden doing everything he possibly can to try and hold off the charge of Sadler, Wilson, O'Brien and everybody behind, but barely doing enough. And there's a bit of contact, managing to just hold on to it though.
Only just. That was Sadler getting into the backup. I think it was O'Brien who's going to move up the inside, attempt to at least, of Darcy Wilson. Wilson goes to the outside, and we focus on Max Lumsden, who's right behind all of this. Darcy goes to the outside to try and keep Brad O'Brien behind him, but O'Brien with the better exit now back onto the back of Hurley and Hobson.
He certainly is, and he's going to try and move forward if he can to try and make up some extra positions, but Hurley's going to be on the bottom side of the racetrack between himself and Hobson. Brad O'Brien right there, but there's a caution.
Oh yeah, the 076 and the 55 of Max Lumsden. So Lumsden, we saw, had great potential there, but unfortunately that's put him out of contention for the time being. We got some more green flag laps done though. Max Lumsden, ultimately it looks like taking himself out by hitting the wall on the inside of turn 2, and then the other car there not having anywhere to go. So Lumsden goes boop, and then into the car below. That was Braden Shute there, who had some great runs in the heats, but ultimately not going to work out for him in the feature. We're going to try and grab a replay of Joel Berkeley getting into the wall, because that was certainly quite the incident. So here it is once again. Berkeley across the line, and then coming into turn 1, he just fires it in, and then there's no grip there on the slick line, just gets the right rear into the wall and loses the position.
Yeah, very, very easy to do when running right up against that outside wall too. So based on the way that line is, it's literally putting the right rear into the wall nearly. So it's a very, very tricky line to run up there at the moment, but still drivers are going to do everything they can to try and extract a little bit of pace out of that car.
Indeed they will, but the pace extraction is going to be diminishing returns thanks to how slick the track's getting through the turns. Look at that. 13 laps to go, and we got barely any fresh clay left. Green flag, and oh my goodness,
wall.
Wall, and that has caused a big, that was almost a big pile up. Brad O'Brien managing to continue from that, but the big disadvantaged car there was Caden Brown, spun to the back of the field. The caution is out, so Brown can resume his position, but that was almost an entire field incident. Here is another view of it. We'll see Berkeley get into the wall on the restart, which we haven't seen before, Cam.
Yeah, certainly just got a little bit too greedy and bounced the front end up off the deck, and then Caden Brown was left with nowhere to go, got clipped from behind as well. And I'm not sure how no one hit him, but that he did a pretty good job to spin it back around 360 degrees and keep it straight.
Certainly did. We're going to get another view of that from on board with Caden. So the restart happens. Berkeley clips the wall there, and Brown has to check up, gets hit from behind, and that was a bit of a wild ride for him. Looks like Darcy Wilson was the one who got into the back of Caden Brown off that restart. Here's the view from on board him. So down the front stretch they go, and well, honestly, Darcy Wilson didn't have much time to react there, did he?
Yeah, he certainly didn't, especially when he had so many cars ahead of him going in various different directions. So it's one of those incidents where you sort of, as a driver, look at it and go, couldn't really do much and just got to pretty much drive through it and hope that you don't end up with any damage.
Our race director, Brady Baldwin, has elected to return the restarts to single file for this one, hoping for a bit of a cleaner start this time around. So with that double file start, obviously Berkeley didn't have much space to move up. You do get squeezed a little bit by drivers on the outside when you restart at a track like this. They all want to get the straightest run possible towards the start-finish line. So this single file restart should solve a couple of those issues.
Yeah, certainly shouldn't. It'll also give the advantage to Bradley Oldfield as well to time his restart as best as he can and get a nice bit of a gap to the cars behind. So we'll see what he can do, whether he's going to get a nice good jump, which he has. But Harry Stewart has got a nice solid restart as well, so he's going to be here or thereabouts.
And immediately moving to the outside is Stewart. He seems incredibly comfortable up there, but Bradley Oldfield sticking right to the inside. Up at the top there, that was Caden Brown and Brenton Hobson fighting hard as Brown tries to advance back forward. 3 wide across the front stretch, and that's Aston Hurley into the wall. That was some side-by-side contact between wheels, and also spinning Cam Taylor at the back of the grid. So that was quite the quick green flag run there. Didn't even get half a lap in. Motum simulation replay. Cam, let's see what happened.
Yeah, you can just see the 3 wide down the front straight, and it just looks like ever so slight contact on the way into, well, down the front straight, and just unfortunately getting put into the wall and then getting collected on the way by as well. So probably going to be quite a bit of damage on that.
It's a big shame for Aston. Outside view of it, and looking at the cars behind too, because Lewis Hewitt would have gotten a great view of this one. So round goes Aston Hurley, and right there, oh, well, Hewitt, he did gain a bit of a clobber, which resulted in a bit less of a good run for him. Aston Hurley given an end-of-line penalty for that one, because obviously the other cars in that section of the track weren't really at fault for that incident. So race direction giving the ruling that Aston Hurley effectively brought out the caution on his own. So one more lap then under caution before we can go back green again. Lap 22 of 35 is what we're still on at the moment. Not much time left in terms of green flag running for drivers to advance forward. For Joel Berkeley, he's still where he started in 4th place, but Brenton Hobson moving up from 21st position to run P5 now. I'm interested to see what he can do from here. Seems to be a very good late race car there for Hobbo 88. Green flag flies again. Bradley Oldfield gets a consistent start. Harry Stewart stays with him, but Clayton Davies pressuring for 2nd place. Have a look at Joel Berkeley. Just fires it up the inside of turn 3 on throttle and secures the position. So now the fight begins anew, or does it? Because the cautions come right back out again. Caden Brown has clipped the inside wall.
Yeah, that's created an absolute cluster of cars just going everywhere. You've got Gavin Saddle and Max Lumsden, Brown, Tyler Bish all involved in that one, and Braden Shute as well. And Nathan Norman is upside down, unfortunately.
And out of the race. That's a big shame for Nathan. Let's see what happened to Caden here, coming down into turns 3 and 4. And you've got to be careful in this section of the track, because fire it in a little too early, and that's what happens. And Caden Brown just collected by 2 cars, who then collect 2 further cars. and that created a massive pile up. Looked like most of the drivers were able to find their way back onto their wheels, but Nathan Norman, unfortunately, tipped onto his side. This is the view from on board.
See, getting down the back straight, they're all sort of bunched up together and then just getting a little bit sideways, and there's a car parked there and up and over.
Whew. That gave me a bit of a fright. Nathan Norman obviously would have gotten a much bigger fright there. Just knowing that you're careening towards a car at a standstill, and because you're on slick clay, just going sideways, there's not much you can do to alter your trajectory. All right. We're going to have one more lap behind the pace car before we go green again, and Caden Brown given an end of line before bringing the caution out. A lot of these cars are looking pretty second-hand after the amount of racing and the amount of hits that have been made on the wall and on other cars too.
Yeah, certainly. It's a bit of a race of attrition so far in this race, with a lot of cautions and a few banged up cars, but we're going to go, so shouldn't be too far away from getting the checkered flag, and everybody can sort of settle down, but we'll have to wait and see who's going to end up taking this one out, and Joel Berkeley can do, because he's zipped on by Clayton Davies in that last restart on the way through turn number 1, so expecting a very, very quick restart in this very, very quick car to make it through up the field, but we're back to green.
We are indeed, and it's Oldfield once again leads into turn 1. Oh, Berkeley. Oh, Berkeley is out. Did Berkeley hit on their floor or something like that? Because he just disappeared from the middle of the circuit. That's very strange, and he's manually disconnected too. Oh, we got cars coming together at the top of turn 1. That was Hobson and O'Brien. Lewis Hewitt's gotten into Brad O'Brien and goes for a spin, but gets back going. No caution. Very well done by Lewis Hewitt to get going as quickly as he did, but it looks like that top 2, top 3 battle has gotten a lot less interesting, because Bradley Oldfield and Harry Stewart have got the measure of the rest of the field now. Up into 3rd, Darcy Wilson, but we see Davies, Hobson and O'Brien all together at once coming into turn 3. Hobson, the big loser out of all of that, just got squeezed, and O'Brien, oh no, makes contact with Clayton Davies, who gets into the wall, tumbles up, and this might be a caution. He's upside down. It's going to be a caution.
Yeah, and Caden Brown's upside down on the back straight as well.
Why isn't the caution out? The caution didn't come out. I think it's because we're in the final 10 laps. I'm not sure. We are still green either way, and looks like Caden Brown might be out of this one too. The lead battle is on. Look at this. Harry Stewart has caught back up to Bradley Oldfield and is pressuring him hard for the lead of this race. Trying their best to run the outside in turn 1, dipping to the inside for turn 2, firing it into turn 3, sticking to the inside. Look at Harry Stewart. He's carrying a lot more momentum into the top of the corner, using the outside line to kind of launch himself down the back straight. He's doing the same out of turn 1 too, gets on the throttle and carries the momentum. Oldfield, I don't know if he has the measure of him down on the inside. This is going to be an interesting finish.
Check flag's probably going to come out, so Harry Stewart's actually going to win it in the end.
Okay. Here we go. Checkered. And that was right on the exit of the second turn, of the last turn, sorry. So it's Stewart, Oldfield and O'Brien who are your podium at the end of it. There's a replay of what happened here to Brenton Hobson. And this was in the final couple of corners, just going a bit too hard up at the top of the circuit and almost getting into the wall at the end of it. What a great finish there. Oh, that's what happened to Brenton. Just went a bit too hard into turn 1 and got up into the wall for his troubles. But Harry Stewart and Joel Berkeley, Harry Stewart and Bradley Oldfield, a very titanic battle to end this night here. So at the end of it, a great run for Brad O'Brien, having made it up to 3rd from 11th. Harry Stewart, of course, starting from pole. He didn't have the lead for quite some time, but just nabbing it back at the point that it mattered.
Yeah, he certainly did, and that's really going to help his championship, as well as that second place for Bradley Oldfield, being the leader in the points heading into this round as well, and is current rival in second place didn't even make the feature. So, going to be some big gains there in the championship department.
Absolutely is. It's time for driver interviews at the end of the night. First driver we're going to talk to is our feature winner, Harry Stewart. G'day, Harry. Welcome. And congratulations on the win. It looked like you had the measure of the field, a very good car under you, but you didn't hold the lead for the whole race.
Yeah, I was it's pretty terrible running the bottom, so I knew I had to go to the top. I don't think I would have won if the two lap cars that stayed on the track that made Brad not run his line that he wanted. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird race, long race, but yeah, it's kind of, yeah, there was a fair few people quicker than me in that one. I just finally had some luck.
Yeah, you certainly did. It's a tough track too, is Weedsport, especially in these midgets. You've really got to edge your way around this circuit because those inside walls, as we saw, can cause a bit of carnage.
Yeah, they seem to bite a lot more than any other of the walls on every other track, but yeah, I stayed away from it as much as I could without trying to protect the inside from, I think, Joel and Caden. They were pretty quick on the bottom. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's going to be a solid points haul for you, Harry. You were 8th in the standings coming out of round 2, but with your performances here, it's certainly going to help out, especially considering that drivers ahead of you like Nathan Clark, Caden Brown, Ethan Bastian, Jaden Russell all had pretty bad results tonight.
Yeah, I ruined the points a bit for myself last week. I think I was in 4th and just lost me temper on that last incident where I just wrecked myself because kind of got over all the other racing stuff, other racing incidents. But yeah, I guess it's good points for just the end of the season, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Well, coming up in future rounds, any car track combinations that you reckon you're going to be beneficial in?
Well, obviously the sprint cars, I think it's probably mainly everyone's main strength besides the midgets. Obviously tonight, they're probably my preference and Brad's preference. So that was pretty cool, but I don't know how I'm going to go the modified stuff, the UMPs and the late models, but I'm just trying to get a top 10 or even make the feature in them. But sprint cars, I'm hoping for a top 5.
We'll see what happens at the sprint car round then. Before we let you go, Harry, anyone that you'd like to thank from your garage?
Yep, just like to thank everyone at United Sim Sports, KCLD Cleaning, High Performance Videos, Origin Graphics, Ultimate Dirt TV, and 87 Creative.
Harry Stewart, the feature winner here at Weedsport Speedway. Next up, we've got our second place finisher in the feature, Brad O'Brien. Sorry, my apologies. We've brought the wrong driver in there, accidentally. There is Bradley Oldfield, stood by with Cameron Dance.
Yeah, second place for you, Brad, and you ended up coming away with a pretty solid result in the end and extended your championship lead.
Yeah, obviously feel like I had a very race-winning car to win that. Bit sick of the lap cars and cars at the back are winning for the rest. You know, a lot of yellows in that race once again. But yeah, it's like happy with the result, but definitely could have got a bit better.
Yeah, well, certainly with the number of cautions that came out, were you expecting to have so many cautions, or were you expecting it to be a bit shorter and wish a car a little bit more suited to what the end of the race was?
No, it's all fixed setup, so we've all got the same setup, but just tend to drive with my head a bit more, try and limit the wheel spin, and seems to pay off most of the time. Harry, obviously good wheelman, we drive complete opposites, super happy with him to walk away with the win for sure. And yeah, so it's hard with those yellows, hard to keep in the rhythm, and yeah, it's what it is.
Well, we head to Lanier next week in a car probably not too familiar amongst the AusNZ community. We head to Lanier in the UMP. Are you looking forward to it? And is there possibly anything you might want to expect here?
No, I've never done too many laps in these things, so it'll definitely be interesting. I'm not expecting anything, but just trying to hope to try and limit this round. It'll be just a matter of damage limitation. But just do the best with what I get given, and we'll go from there.
Well, before we let you go, just any thanks and any shout outs you want to give.
Yeah, just shout out to Harry on the first place and Brad on third as well. All the guys back at United for all their help. High performance videos, Origin Graphics, Ultimate Dirt TV, KCLD Cleaning, 87 Creative. You guys are putting on the stream. Brady for running the event as always, does a sweet job. And yeah, that's about it.
Well, there you have it, Reese. Your second place finish, and I believe you're standing by with our third place one.
I am indeed. Apologies, Brad O'Brien, for bringing you in early, but a great result for you. Started 11th in the feature and 3rd by the end. So a bit of a profitable night for you.
Yeah, that ended up being pretty good in the end. I got it sent to the rear. I think it was like 12 or something like that. So yeah, it's good to be able to drive back to a podium finish with a bent car.
Yeah, certainly. This track has resulted in some pretty chaotic racing in the feature. What do you think it takes from a midget driver's perspective to navigate a field like this cleanly?
Just missed the bump going into one, and if you can avoid all the carnage, normally it's not too bad. Yeah, there's just a lot of people facing the wrong way tonight, and all over the place. It was a bit hard to deal with, but got there in the end.
That you did. In terms of the championship, you were 13th out of round 2, but there's an awful lot of drivers ahead of you that would have come away with very low points scores from this round. So by my estimates, you're looking good to break into the top 10 in the standings when we go to round 4. Yeah,
well, that's not too bad. I didn't do too bad in qualifying in the heats in both of the other cars, but screwed up the feature, so I need to just keep my nose clean from here on in, and yeah, hopefully we can roll into the top 10 by the end of it.
Well, keeping it clean, I think, is going to be an interesting challenge in the UMP Modified next week. Have you driven that thing much? Because it seems like from what we've heard from other drivers, it's not a car that's especially familiar to this side of the community.
No, it's not really that popular here in Australia, but I've been in it a few times, and it's pretty fun to drive. You just got to try and keep it as straight as possible and stay out of the wheel spin, and you should be pretty right.
We'll see what happens at Lanier, a nice high-banked track, very different to what we've got here at Weedsport. Before we let you go, Brad, anyone that you'd like to thank? Who gets it done for you?
I got to thank Tilly for spotting me tonight. I wouldn't have been able to drive through that carnage without him, that's for sure. Obviously everybody at Momentum, Newland Contracting, Everything Dirt, Verdict Clothing, Brady for throwing the league up and adminning, and obviously you guys for broadcasting.
Thank you very much, Brad O'Brien. Number 77, 3rd place in the feature tonight at Weedsport. And so, that brings to an end proceedings for this night of dirt racing, Cam. I had a lot of fun watching this. I reckon the feature could have done with a few less cautions, but that's just how it happens when you got these kinds of cars racing at this kind of track.
Yeah, it was certainly a little bit of a surprise to see so many cautions in a car that I guess everyone is familiar with inside and out. So it is what it is, though. So we'll head to Lanier next week and see what sort of racing the UMP produces.
Indeed we will. If you missed that, it is the UMP Modified at Lanier National Speedway next week for the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events Wheelman Challenge. We'll be here to bring it to you this time next week. We hope to see you there. Chuck us a subscribe on the YouTubes. Give us a like on the Facebooks as well. We're SimSpeed TV. I'm Reese Gardner, Cam Dance alongside me in the comms box, and Jay Kennedy making everything happen behind the scenes. Big thanks to Buffalo Motors for your support of this championship, and we'll see you next week for round 4.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up the
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness! Oh these guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God. God, what?